Oh, that's a nice way to go live. Good morning, Simon.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I didn't know. You normally give me a bit of a warning.
No, wake up. Give the nation your good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. This is a lovely Kerfuffle podcast. Done purely because we thought we hadn't done anything for a while. How are you?
I am good.
How are you, my trapped colleague, my poor Mancunian Tier 3 brother in arms?
We've got to cover this. Andy Burnham, come on.
Well, yeah, I love it.
Lady Burner for Andy Burnham, haven't you?
Well, yeah, exactly. Stick it to the man. Stick it to him.
Is this not just class war politics at its best?
That's why I just cheered it. Yeah. There you go. There we go. Zoe straight in with it. Yeah. Oh no, we're doing the normal. Yes, Andy. I just think it's symptomatic of them not listening to a single thing that's been said. Who's the leader of the Tory MP for Altrincham and Sale? The leader of the 22. He looks like he's been inbred over about 20 different generations into a true conservative, and he has been entirely scathing of the government, hasn't he? Have you heard him?
Is that Graham Brady?
Yes, I think it is. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I never know them by particular names, just that Tory bastard.
He does look very Tory.
He's so Tory. He's actually got quite a nice, gentle face. It's almost like a bit Tim Nice.
No. He's got a face like a horse, mate. Looks like you should be like holding out a couple of sugar cubes and patting them on the back of the head, saying,
"Sorry, what do you think my classical look of a Tory looks like?" That's exactly it.
They are morphing into that caricature of Tories, though, aren't they? At the moment.
Oh, I think we're past the Rubicon on that one. Yeah, tell you what. I mean, again, this is not a political. Yes, it is a political show, isn't it? Where's our friend Mark Francois gone? Have you noticed they've kept him out of?
Listen to the entitled Northerners, privately educated. What do you know, lol? Zoe, we still pay our taxes in the north. Well, I don't. Whaley does a bit.
Yeah, and also, it's because we're educated that we know what we're aware of what we speak.
That is true, and that being educated doesn't mean that you can't be on the side of the
angels. Yeah. Well, I was just looking actually at that, just to take it vaguely back to property. Did you see that story on? I think it was a state agency today. Just the despicable story about those houses that haven't got the cladding sorted again. Some desperate vendors having to sell their homes at, was it up to like 40% below market price, and essentially looking like those, those cash converters, just preying on them, isn't there? There was some fellow that was
true life story, actually. If you have got a flat in a new build block, it's got cladding, and I think it has to be over 18 meters high or something like that. As long as it ticks all of those boxes, you'll need a certificate. Those certificates are very hard to come by, and a lot of surveyors for mortgage companies are refusing to sign off on remortgaging. So if you're having a survey done for that purpose, you're not getting a new loan, and those loans are expiring, and you've got a big problem. So I've actually had one this week where that's the case, and we have been. If anybody knows where to get one of these certificates, let me know, because up north it ain't pretty down here at the moment. You're not seeing it.
It was the triumphant end to the story that made me just again think how depressing it was that somebody is actually profiting out of all of this, as there always is. Tommy Hughes, director of WeBuy, told Money Mail that he had acquired half a dozen flats with cladding issues at up to 70% of perceived market value over the past 3 months. He commented, "We hope to be able to make a 10 to 15% profit on these properties somewhere down the line." It's not great. It's not great for capitalism, is it?
Yeah, but let's be fair, right? The issue with the cladding is there. It needs to be resolved because we haven't got a standardized solution for it yet. This is where people like that will take advantage of that. So you've got this gap in the market at the moment between all the fuss being made over cladding after Grenfell and then actually coming up with a solution for these buildings, whether it's retrofitting them or getting them signed off, because some of them are actually safe. So the cladding is a problem, not in the way that Zoe Bywater refers to it. It's a problem because people can't get finance on those properties. Any more miserable northern news?
No, just going back to it again, though, do you remember what we were told at the time, which is always the trick and why they are indeed Tory bastards? We're told that you shouldn't politicise the issue. We're told that now isn't the time to discuss this. That this will all come out, and this is one of the exact same reasons why we have to. Because the minute that it's out of the public eye, this sort of shit goes on. The papers take the eye of the press and everything else. There, it's what is it? A 7th story on a property-related daily newsletter and everything else there, and yet there's real people out there that are obviously slung on the slag heap, as it were. So
yeah, look, it's not the story you expect to see. The story that you expected to see was more about people burning in their own homes, and you're not seeing that, but you're seeing the financial ramifications of that cladding.
Yeah. Nasty. Anyway, yes. So, update 2, Jim. What we got? Is this what we're going to be doing now for the next few months? Then, as darkness descends, not just in a
we're going to read out the most miserable of the news stories, and Zoe Bywater's going to troll us all morning. That's it. She's going to call us privileged, not really northern.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a progress in terms of if we were looking for Groundhog Day 2, that wasn't the script.
Okay, talking of Groundhog Day 2, let's get into a bit of property news because is anybody else feeling a little bit groundhoggish with all the booming coverage at the moment, or is it just me?
I certainly, that was my certain thought of the first thing I opened up.
And what I mean is, every morning this week, there's been a headline about booming, whether it is the people from the Say No to Right Move campaign who seem to hitch their wagon to that particular star, or talking about founder members that have been hiding in the back wings there for the past 2 years and are now stepping out. So
what do you make of, first of all, what do you make of these are some of the highest profile, leading agents in their area. What do you make of their decision, first and foremost? You've seen it now. Is it entirely understandable? Is it
I am so surprised. I'm surprised and not surprised because we fall for it every time, but I am surprised that they have chosen to throw themselves into bed so quickly with what is likely to be an extremely aggressive commercial animal once it gets going. The amount of money that Michael Bruce is saying that they're going to pump into it in 2021 just to give it public visibility and to give it a chance against Rightmove and Zoopla and the other 20 other challenger portals that you've got going on out there is absolutely huge. There's massive money being thrown into this. And and what's the end result? Are you actually all just paying into a very efficient, a very nice looking super Rightmove on steroids? Is that what you're building for us? I don't. And you've just got to ask those questions, and people will do it anyway because it's free.
Well, that's absolutely true. And isn't there will be a fear factor about missing out? Isn't there a certain level of equity available? Is it 20% equity available at a point in time? So
Oh yeah.
people will be
Oh,
people will
oh
be wanting that, won't they?
yes, that's the portal equivalent of magic beans. The equity shares. It worked so well for on the market, didn't it? No one got a sore ass with that. All those founder members that have got their gold shares or whatever they're called worth Gornish, McGornish, nothing. And I think we may be storing up a problem for later, but at the moment, do you know who I feel sorriest for? And I want to wish him congratulations, by the way, because I think he's just had a baby girl. Is our friend Sam Hunter from Home Search. But
Yeah,
if you
congrats.
remember, and if the industry cares to wake up and remember, back in May, stroke June, early July, these guys were the heroes of the industry. They were coming out with a new and a fresh, a clean product. And a lot of people said, well, this is the one that we're going to go with because we like what Sam represents. We like the story that he's telling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I am so surprised that they are not as prominent at the moment as Boomin seems to have taken all of that noise. They've taken all of that space up at them.
But that was the nature of the Purple Beast before, wasn't it? It was a black hole in terms of PR. You know what? I don't think it'll be the worst thing. Take them out of the headlights because unrealistic expectations. You know, the idea that they could come and challenge, be the challenger portal overnight. You know, you needed to take the heat out of it a little bit there, didn't you? Good to see that.
Absolutely. But I think all of that heat now is going to be swallowed by constant booming headlines pretty much every morning, and it'll be very interesting to watch the genesis of this particular product and to see how it translates over to members of the public. So are members of the public going to love this brand? Are they going to get themselves behind it? They're going to be very reliant on the agents to push that message as much as possible. So they're going to want those agents to.
I think the B2C bit's truly fascinating, isn't it? All these nice features that are in there in terms of offering the ability to monetize sort of passive buyers to be able to get a revenue stream out of those. That's going to be, you know, will it work for the consumer? Because regardless of anything else, when Purple Bricks launched, it appeared to a demographic, and certainly a large number of people who did manage to sell their homes like that felt satisfied, didn't they? So it ticked the box in terms of there. Have the lessons been learned? Have the lessons been learned again, and they're going to get that initial good feeling from the consumer public? That remains to be seen.
I think what's kept me going this week are the comments on the Property Industry Eye pieces about booming, and you see some of the cynicism from the regular crowd out there. Some of the comments are absolutely scathing in terms of whether the Bruce brothers do, as Tom McGee says, have the agency's best interest at heart. Because at the moment they seem to be extremely pro-agent all round, both in the charitable work and also in what's going on with booming. But read those comments. I can't read them out for legal reasons. But the other thing that's attracting a lot of interest is your friend Russell Quirk. I believe they've managed to serialize his life story into 3 parts.
Well, I'm amazed he hasn't found us, actually. You know, what, when Russell, when Piers Morgan reacted to the Greg story about the vegan sausage roll, and he was ranting, wasn't he? This is outrageous, and they kind of just hit him back perfectly. The marketing team, oh Piers, we've been expecting you. I kind of expect Russell to just appear at any moment when you're talking about the Tories. The guy understands news, doesn't he? He understands headlines. He understands He understands how not to disappear from the news as well.
I think just like Piers Morgan, I think the one thing they have in common is that they both understand the value of actually having negative press that are not particularly well liked, and they don't mind getting behind that. So they've managed to divide his life story into 3 parts, which is before he pissed millions up the wall, during pissing millions up the wall,
how they titled it.
and now whatever now is.
It's funny you say that. I'm looking bleary-eyed because I started watching 11 o'clock last night, the first of those Trump programs. Have you been watching those? The literally it's an amazing kind of biography interviewing many of the people who are obviously helped in there, the likes of Giuliani, half of the people who have been employed and then sacked by him, which I think we forget about now. It's truly, and that is Trumpism, isn't it? Is that ability to just not give a shit about a bad news story. Literally, all news is good news.
And if it's not good news, it's fake news.
It's absolutely.
If you don't agree with it, you spin it that way. But it's interesting, these little stories. And this Johnny Palmer guy, no idea who he is. He came out of the woodwork with Simon Bradbury. Apparently, he's got a podcast. Doesn't turn up there, Simon, does he? Come on, he's not me.
Is that what everybody has to be these days? You. That's a bit of
that's the barometer of what's good.
Talking of barometers are good. Talk me through the market, David.
Okay. So I don't know if Tom McGee's on the line still, if he's watching this. I don't know what's happening in his part of the north, but at the moment, talking to other agents around the north of England, it has cooled off. We're probably in our 3rd week of cooling off as well. So that's not to say we're not selling stuff, and that's not to say we're still doing viewings. There's still interest and stuff like that. But if you were to judge the health of business by the number of market appraisals that you're doing, and that's really where the money is in agency, isn't it? Those are starting to dry up. There seems to be a bit of hesitation. We don't know whether or not it's because we're getting closer to that stamp duty deadline. And in actual fact,
I was going to ask you what you thought the rationale was. Would it be just too much to surmise that this is a reflective of the mindset of people being told they're going into another lockdown, so they're just kind of they're not going to be able to sell in the way they perceive it, and so that they'll just take it off the agenda for the time being?
I think if you were to sort of just look at the timing of all of this, there are several things that have happened that we've forgotten about. 6-month mortgage holidays pretty much ran out for everybody at the end of October. Okay. Will run out this will be the last month for some people. But the end of September was really sort of the benchmark for most people. So that extra bit of cash that everybody had in their pocket, the fact that we had a period of better weather, we're in the middle of summer, things were just looking better. Anyway, going into a period of time where traditionally it would have been quieter in agency running up to Christmas. Yeah. So, and you combine all of those factors together with the fact that if you've agreed a sale today, you pick up the phone even to the best of solicitors, they will tell you they are absolutely rammed and they cannot guarantee that they can get this through by the end of March to meet the stamp duty deadlines. Wow. So you might, in fact, find that the government are going to have to step up and extend that stamp duty deadline just to make it practical. That's what all the conveyancers are begging for at the moment. They just need a little bit more breathing space.
Isn't this like furlough? It's like the never-ending furlough, or the never-ending. They're just loads of these schemes are going to have to just keep getting bumped, aren't they? Until is it finally when Rishi Sunak looks in the looks in the against the balance sheet and suddenly says that ain't good.
Well, I think we're the generation that kick the can further down the road than anyone. And there are going to be, generations of Wales and Minces and McGee's, Carters, you name it, down the line paying for all of this.
All led by a militant Greta. Just saying, I warned you. It was bad enough when you fucked the environment. That was bad enough, but then you went and did the economy too.
I had a weird socialist dream, stroke nightmare, where if things got so bad, we all sat down and just decided to do one big debt forgiveness, and we just hit the reset button on the world.
I tingled then. I like it. Tom's nailed it. Everyone who hates each other or has got their partner up the duff have now made their moves. Are you talking about Boris there, Tom? There's still time for the duff.
Jerry's right in what he says here. But hang on, here we go. I posted this morning that agents need to ramp up the message that the property market is still open for business until it closes. If it does, erase the confusion with clarity. Yeah, so especially those agents in tier 3 areas where, let's face it, nothing has changed for estate agents and is unlikely to. You can still get out there. You can still go and see customers. You still have to do it carefully, and you still have to do it safely. But you can still do it. But I think we're gonna need to ramp up that message of confidence in the market, and that people are still moving. And as we discussed yesterday on that fantastic webinar that you had going on, that panel. But as we discussed yesterday, the management of customers' expectations is key. I don't think there's anything wrong with having that open conversation with a vendor and saying, look, things aren't exactly as they were 2 or 3 months ago. You're not maybe going to have the runaway success that everybody else has had. However, we can still help you and just have a more realistic conversation, because I think values as well have just crept up incrementally, because people are fueled by the stories that they read in the Daily Mail. So, if the Daily Mail says that they're having a great week and the property prices are going up, then you, in your head, you've just added £20,000 to the value of your house.
Yeah, it's I think that's absolutely right. This is exactly where obviously the great agents earn their keep, isn't it? Changing for the markets there. The difficulty is, of course, in a changing marketplace, mindsets in particular don't switch as quickly as the market itself does it? So there's always that horrible transition period, and you're going to just have that there whilst they're reading the Daily Mail stories about how busy it is. You're seeing a very different reality. All the litmus tests in terms of people registering appraisals and everything else, giving you the clues that they haven't quite got yet.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite reached the press yet, because there is some quite a slow press cycle, which is normally suppressed by agents. Because what we do is, when we have a quieter week, we go, isn't it quiet? Are you quiet? By the second week, you pick up the phone to one of your competitors and you go, so how are things? Yeah, we're still busy too. Yeah. Things are still great. Bit quieter. And then by the third week, where you're still hoping that it's going to turn a corner, and it doesn't, you realize, well, hang on, this is what winter 2020 might actually look like. And so it's fine. I think, look, if you've had 3 or 4 great months, and let's face it, guys, you have done. If you read that 20 CI report that has been quoted in the press a lot, and I know that, Simon, we got hold of a copy of it. They're saying that the volumes of properties sold so far in 2020 surpassed that sold in 2019. So we kind of made up for a great deal of lost time, considering the market was shut for 3 or 4 months.
Incredible.
And working. That is absolutely phenomenal. But
just shows to me Corbyn was right, David. How so, Simon? I'll tell you, David. Do you remember the 3-day weekend? He said, and everyone mocked it. You can't do that. There's no way. What about the economy? We had 3 months out, and we've done the same amount of business. So let's just do this every year. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
I think it's great, and I am more than anybody so pleased that people had the start to sort of when we were released from lockdown and Genric sent us all back out to work like the sacrificial lambs of the industry. But when that happened and it was good news, and we had 3 or 4 months of just phenomenal. I don't think it could have been a better shot in the arm for the industry because people they thrive off it and it's good. But let's maybe get ready for some harsh reality. There's now the adjustment and the other headlines that people are not reading out as much. Yesterday there was a headline that 700 branches had closed over lockdown and not reopened. So there has been some consolidation within the industry in terms of agencies, and there's likely to be more. So now that the good times, if the good times are over and we're into harder times where we're going to have to work harder, this is where the truly awesome agents like Tom McGee rise to the surface with this kind of good advice. I'm going down an alternative route of overvaluing by 20%, tying them into a 6-month contract, and then eroding all goodwill by going for a price reduction every 2 weeks.
I love that. Does Tom have an open and honest Facebook profile? I just love the fact all of his clients looking in and just seeing that level of honesty there. That only a northerner could get away with that.
So an ex-northerner, we stripped him of his northern rights, but Rochdale lad, Ryan Wolfenden, he reckons it's only because agents realise they don't need offices and it's a good excuse without the bad PR to shut those branches.
I was going to say that as you were talking about it. I do think actually, they talk about how this is hasten change. And I think that's a really key demographic there, actually. That's just a sign of the new economy, isn't it, really, is that people have again pivoted, to use that word, and changed their model into hubs almost overnight without the normal public criticism that they would have been expected to get, if they'd closed down offices in a normal market. Traditionally, your competition would be able to take the ever-living piss out of you. Oh, look, they're struggling, XYZ, they've had to do that. But you've kind of had the ability to do it by stealth, haven't you? If that was what you were thinking about anyway.
No, but I think, and if Ryan's right, so there's been strategic consolidation. Then I think that if we do go into a tougher period, you'll start to see the real consolidation. So there will be, I think, the weaker, more lazy agents, and none of them are our listeners, and none of them are the stars that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I mean that hand on heart. We're extremely privileged. We get to see the better side of the industry. And this is not what it's like out there. There are some real crap. There's some real bottom feeders that prop up marketplaces.
Do you mean those agents that, as you spoke about, they haven't got their rainy day fund? So you've had this lovely period of business. You've just gone for it's always going to be like this forever, and haven't kept any by the side.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has, and I think that's the way that our society works. I think if you get a mortgage holiday, you'll spend the extra money. I think if you get any kind of dispensation, you'll spunk it up the wall. And I think with agents as well, I don't think they have any kind of forward planning whatsoever. I think we all just assumed it was going to be great, but I think, come on, next year will be extremely interesting, Ryan, and it all depends on what happens over the winter. But Rishi Sunak is not finished yet. That checkbook is going to be coming out, and you know it.
Money trees, money trees. What's he going to do
next? You know what? There was to imagine that a year and a half ago there was a place where free broadband was all that you had to look forward to.
Do you remember the outrage there that came from the press? What, he's thinking about giving free broadband? That will cripple the country. And then life, as it so often does, just said, hold my pint and watch this.
We'll see how it goes, because I think you'll see demand and supply dynamics changing up and down the country. So I think we probably got it here in the north first. See what happens in the south. See how it goes. But one thing that I keep seeing on my Facebook feed from people that are in London, I'd be interested if Christian Byfield is out there. But I keep getting sent these videos of central London looking like a ghost town. And when you go to Manchester city centre or anywhere else that I've been recently, it's not as much of a ghost town. It's quieter than it was, but it's certainly not to that extent. Maybe that's why we've got the infection rate that we've got. But
it's almost as a clue.
But I think when you look around London and you see those empty streets, you realise actually how much that place relied on tourism in terms of your day-to-day passengers and the people. Oh, here we go.
I knew your eyes would get dragged towards that. Oh, not that one.
Oh, here we go. Funnily enough, the tab was about free broadband. The fact that he, come on, Tom.
Let it go, Tom.
Tom, if we can please get through one podcast without somebody mentioning Jewish conspiracy, I'd be very grateful.
Yeah, just to let you, the Kerfuffle podcast does neither endorse. No, in fact, we definitely don't endorse it. I was going to say something else. It's the Wales has locked down, hasn't it? Because I'll tell you why. I was meant to see the very good people of Dawson's and FBM, and they sent me next Thursday, and they've sent me an email saying that apparently the country's locked down. Now, what I want to know is, are they starting to create fake lockdown stories to avoid a night out with me? Is that where we've reached now, that I'm not allowed that bridge just because they don't want to have a headache on a Friday morning?
You are the super spreader that they're all trying to put off. So, Wales will lock down its borders. I don't even, I never heard that much about infection rates in Wales or how bad it is. I just got the impression that they were being a hell of a lot more sensible than the rest of us.
Yeah. And also stoking anti-English sentiment by refusing to let us across the bridge.
Yeah, but let's face it, they've been hankering on building that wall for ages, haven't they?
Not the Welsh. The Welsh haven't.
The Welsh would keep you out of Wales indefinitely.
Yeah, but not to actually build a bridge. Didn't they have a dike? And I don't mean the. And I'm not talking about sexuality here. They didn't they? I thought that's what the Scots famously had Hadrian's Wall. Didn't the Welsh have a dike to kind of protect the country? Or am I getting confused?
Oh, you're in trouble now. Hanson's got hold of you.
This is the power.
You coming down. Oh,
of course, we were going to see you, Amy. That's definitely. Well, the reason
we now.
I didn't.
Sean Adams. So nice to have Sean Adams with us this morning. Poor old Andy Burnham. I remember the Labour Party conference when he was the Labour Health Secretary. He admitted that Labour went too far letting the private sector into the NHS. Funny how Labour were the ones in a speech to the party conference. Mr. Burnham was set to concede that too many care services were outsourced under the last government. He was also set to say that some PFI deals were poor value for money.
Sounds like he's right.
Oh my God! The revelation that there are lying politicians on both sides of the divide.
I love whatiffery, isn't it?
I tell you what, the biggest scandal is the contracts that have been handed out to do with test and trace, and there is huge amounts of money that have just gone astray. I bumped into somebody that worked in a call center for test and trace. They'd made all of 2 calls in a week. And when they reported it to their line manager said, your services to the country are very much appreciated. Please carry on. Basically just tossing off that money because it's free.
We've had a couple of experiences. George, my lad, we thought he had it. And so to just go through trying to find literally to find where there was a test possible, being told that, pressing F5, going in, typing in the system, losing all your information, you have to type it back in. Just literally, the ability to try and get somewhere sensible within 100 miles was unbelievable. But then we've also had one of our employees, Sarah. She was identified because one of her family members had it. Was told that they were okay once they'd had the test, and then would track down the day after to say that there'd been a mistake, and they couldn't say whether the test was right or not. So
well,
levels of incompetence that has never been,
and just the absolute confusion surrounding the rules. So, for instance, if you have been in contact with somebody that's confirmed and diagnosed with COVID, you yourself have to then isolate for 14 days. But the people that you live with don't necessarily need to isolate. They can come into contact with you and still go out to work and spread it. You've got kids who've been sent home because there's an outbreak of it in their class, but their siblings are still going to school. It just doesn't make sense.
Isn't that what this whole new tier system was about, though, wasn't it? It was about, again, I think they recognised, if they didn't recognise, they were fucking idiots, that they had to simplify it again because people had literally, whatever this lot are, they understood the power of a simple headline and slogan, and you know, so get Brexit done and all that kind of stuff. They've lost their way, as so often as some of the rest of us warned was going to happen when detail got in the way, didn't it? And actually,
I've got a theory. I've got a theory if you want to hear it.
Of course, I love a good. Is it a conspiracy theory? Can I get my tinfoil hat?
It's more than that. It's something I live my life by. Fat guys do better, and Boris has lost a lot of weight, and therefore the incompetence. He's just very incompetent right now. It's just extremely apparent. He can't even hide it under the layers of jolly fatness, and that's what I would have done.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. He needs to pork up again. Actually, is Peter on the? Is Peter Lawrence on? Peter Lawrence.
A good mate of his, isn't he?
He absolutely is. He regularly gets him in there. And Peter, I did manage to see Pete the other day, and he actually told a brilliant story about what Boris said to him when he came in. But I won't say it out loud because I don't know if it's off there. I'll get clearance, and then we'll go with it.
Okay, we'll talk about clearance. I've just had clearance to take the kids to school, so I'm going to do that. I think you're doing the same.
Do you know what that means for me? Which is what again worried about this fat thing. That it's not going to be an issue for me because every time I get to take George to school, I get to have a full English breakfast. Couldn't be any better.
Oh, enjoy it. Enjoy your bacon. I'm sure that's yummy in the morning. You can tell me what that tastes like.
Oh,
right.
Good stuff. Thank you, my friends. Thank you, everyone, for jumping in.
Take care, everybody. And stay tuned. Tomorrow they're going to be doing. Are they doing your life story on Property Industry Eye?
My life story. Why is my life story?
Well, they did Russell Crowe. They broke down into 3 parts. Yours, they'll probably do what? An 8-part mini series where you're played by, I think, Russell Crowe is looking a little bit Simon Whaley.
As long as it's not James Corden or Michael McIntyre, I don't care really. That's absolutely fine.
Any tech tips for Graham Wilson?
The new models are, Graham, they will go round the U-bend of a hotel toilet, and that's where we leave the show.
Okay, good morning. Take care.
Bye-bye.